right. Welcome, PDA broadcast, abridged version for our 4th of July celebrators. We're going to do a short show today, but we hate skipping and leaving you guys without content to watch because I know y'all are so desperate to get it. So all 27 of you followers that we
Hey,
appreciate.
Yeah,
Are super thankful for. We put a couple of
definitely.
posts up this week, letting everybody know we've been sitting right at about 27 members for a couple of weeks now, and I thought that's so close to 30. 3 people away, right? We know a lot of people. I thought maybe, just maybe, to help us celebrate the 4th of July weekend, 3 you wonderful people could, go on to the page, sign up as friends. Not only because
Adam's gonna give away a PS5.
not quite, but Sir
It's gonna be
Snuggles,
great. That's perfect.
Sir Snuggles, for anybody who's been following our pages, has graciously volunteered to send an exclusive pic that will not be on his Facebook page to any and all the people that sign up before midnight tonight. So that's your very own Sir Snuggles picture. Anybody who's been on the page knows that those are pretty adorable. And even if you don't like us, it's more than worth it for the picture. So sign up, get your pics sent out. It'll be worth it. I promise. All right. So, what are we talking about today, gentlemen? I know at the end of the show last week, we were talking about doing a show about men's issues, which is often not very celebrated topic, but I think there are some real issues that people, should at least be thinking about and aware of, not to pull, following or whatever from other movements that are even maybe even more important or certainly as important, but it doesn't have to be one or the other. But I don't know if that's necessarily the topic for our abridged show, because I imagine we could go on. As badass as men are, I imagine there are enough problems to take up more than an hour and a half of your viewing pleasure. So we might put that on the bookshelf. What is it? Put it on the shelf for
We'll
next week.
parking lot it. We'll
Is it,
parking lot it for next week.
bookshelf is more specific than the term is supposed. Shelf it, bookshelf it,
Shelf it. I think that's it. Shelf it.
shelf it. Okay.
It sounds like shellfish.
My shelf is a bookshelf, so I bookshelf it, but you can put it on whatever shelf works for
I have
you.
many
in your house.
leather-bound books on my bookshelf. My apartment smells
I
of
don't
rich
have a
mahogany.
bookshelf. Well, we do have a bookshelf. None of the books are mine because I'm dyslexic and I don't read. I take in information other ways. So not a lot of
That is not
books
fair
on my
at all,
bookshelf. What's that?
because that sounds like something I should be able to make fun of you for. But then when you say all those diseases after it,
Yeah,
or those things,
yeah,
like I can't make fun of you for it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm white. I'm a man and I'm straight. You have plenty of things you're allowed to make fun of me for. That is just not one of them. All right. So, what do we want to talk about today? A lot of crazy shit happened this week. So, any of those topics would, I'm sure, fill more than an hour and a half of talking time. Bill Cosby, crazy shit. No, I don't think anybody really saw that coming. Came out of nowhere. I thought that dude was like gone. I didn't even realize there was a possibility that could happen. So that was some crazy shit. Trump organization and the president of his organization got indicted this week. So not just the people themselves, but they actually indicted the entire organization, which is
But not Trump
yet
yet.
right, right. So right, wrong, or not, what's pretty common practice is that when you're aiming for big game, you make sure you don't shoot until you got them in the crosshairs, right? So my guess would be that that's
Very
coming
true.
down the pipeline. But the
Yeah.
fact that they indicted the organization instead of just individuals in the organization is a big deal, because what that means is that they're not going to be able to just scapegoat a couple of people and everybody else walk away. Like, this is like when you indict the organization, you're saying, like we're taking this shit down. You know what I mean? So they're going after the whole thing. And even if some people escape, which is certainly possible, if they're successful in prosecuting, it would at least destroy the organization, if not everybody involved in it. So
And
that,
so, and it is only one of Trump's organization. It is his
Sure.
flagship, though.
yeah, it's the big one. Yeah, yeah,
The real estate.
yeah. He does have all kinds of businesses to funnel his money into so that he doesn't have to pay taxes. No,
And I mean, just in case someone doesn't know the situation, that's actually what they got
Yeah.
pulled down for.
yeah. I'm not just like throwing dirt or what's it called now when you hate on somebody?
Shade.
Shade. There you go. Not just throwing shade. Shade's a bad thing? That's huh?
Do you throw shade or you just shade?
I think you can throw shade. Anybody else want to weigh on this, Dot? Can you?
You're just hating.
Yeah, but he's saying,
watching.
is it throwing shade or you? Yeah, it's got to be. You can't just shade. There's got to be a adverb.
Cast a shadow, a dark, gloomy
That
shadow.
looks nice. That sounds nice. Cast a shadow. That just
Yes.
has a ring to it.
But I'm saying the actual like
it's throwing shade.
Throwing shade, right?
Yeah,
throwing shade. You can't just shade somebody. That's
well, you can't throw shade, but you can throw
That's
salt.
kind of nicer, right?
And
Like
you can
shading somebody.
Cast.
That's what I'm saying.
Shadow.
I'm shading them. That doesn't even throwing shade kind of seems like shade's not a bad thing, is it? But
well, you're eclipsing them.
Yeah, right. You're taking away their sunlight. I get it. But I'm just saying, if it was just shading somebody, you'd think, oh, that's awfully nice of you. You know, not ooh. That's why you gotta throw it, motherfucker. Take that shade.
Take that shade.
Anyways, yeah, I'm not just throwing shade. That is one of the things that they're prosecuting for, is specifically is tax evasion. It's the main thing that they're prosecuting him for, and the president of the
heard how they were
organization.
doing it, right? That they're actually like, so the idea is, you have to, what is it called? Tell the government about all your income, and so they were hiding income by like paying for houses, paying for cars, paying for even like children's schools and stuff,
gifts
off the books. So it looked like you were making, 100,000, and you were actually making, $1 million.
Right.
Because everything got paid for.
Right.
They were going the U.S. government route, where they pay for room and board and meals and everything else.
Right. And as commonly the case with greedy people, instead of just like, taking a few gifts here and there and not having to pay taxes on it, they were like, how about we make it 95% of the money that I make, and then that way I don't have to pay taxes on anything. And you got to imagine when you're, I mean, like how it's going to catch up to you, right? I mean, even people who aren't in the spotlight, like, I mean, drug dealers who are trying to hide their money don't say I made $10,000 and then like live in the Dominion and drive a fucking a fucking Bentley. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta, the amount of money that you're supposed to be making should kind of match up to the amount of money that you're spending. It shouldn't be like black and white difference, because that, is kind of painting a big ass picture on you that you're obviously lying about how much money you're making. That's like money laundering 101, right? Even I think, when you're I don't know, when you're big enough, then I guess you assume that you can just get away with anything,
Wow, that doesn't sound like anybody we know.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, so that's what they're going after him for. I think it's about time. I mean, we've been hearing about this shit, since like months after he became president, right? And at some point you either have to put up or shut up, because not to defend crazy people, but it's hard to say that you're not just like going after your enemies when you're talking all this shit about them and you're not actually doing anything about it. So I would say I'm excited about that. obviously crazy people still won't have any problem saying it's bullshit, but at least now not crazy people can
one of the
point
ideas
to
is,
something.
and I mean, you don't really know what's going on, but one of the ideas that I guess one of the reporters put forth was that so this guy that they indicted, or I don't know if it's called indicted, but they're whatever, putting crimes against him, and so they believe that it was a threat. They were threatening to take him to jail or bring charges against him unless he rolled over on the Donald. And so sometimes
Yes.
when you do that, you have to actually come through with the threat.
Right.
You have to like actually do it.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
believing that this is that first step, and now when he actually shows up in handcuffs and sees the inside of a cell, it might shake him enough to like
Yes.
produce some fruit.
Right. He's not the fish that everybody assumes they're going after. Everybody's pretty sure that they've been, hoping he would testify against Trump, and he hasn't been willing to do that. And the assumption is that prosecuting him, arresting him, putting him in jail, and making it clear that they're not just, banging their chest will make this guy realize that I'm actually just a greedy piece of shit, not like an actual loyal human being that cares about the people in my life. I need to go ahead and testify and get this shit over with so that I don't spend the rest of my life in jail, or at least a good portion of it. So hopefully that'll work. It's pretty common practice. It's not like this is some crazy shit that they're doing just because they're hot for Donald Trump. I mean, that's what they always do, right? You flip the small guys to get to the big guys. It's pretty standard practice stuff. So hopefully it'll work.
Two different things, though. I think it is that they're hot for Donald Trump. I mean, they do want to get him. I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't prosecute him if they didn't. I'm just saying this isn't like some crazy, thing that they never do, where they're letting some people make deals to go after the bigger fit. I mean, that's pretty common practice in prosecuting.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what
absolutely.
they do. Hopefully it'll work. And the taxes, man, that's what, I mean, it's always the taxes, you know what I mean? Like you could do the most horrible shit in the world, but you better pay the government their money, because that shit you are not going to get away with. Ask Wesley Snipes. He had they put him in jail and took away a pretty promising acting career.
he was in for a bit too. Like it wasn't like, Martha Stewart 6 months or something.
Yeah. I never that shit always gets me. Like it's like that show you watch about the storage units, where it's like they spend $80 on a storage unit, and then it has like $85,000 worth of stuff in it, and you're like, the guy who owned that storage unit didn't want to like pawn one gold coin and pay his bill, or come and take the coins out and let him take the other shit. You know what I mean? Like, how fucking stupid would you have to be to like abandon $80,000 worth of stuff for what could not have been more than like a $400 bill or something? You know what I mean? That's ridiculous.
Well, some of those have been popular. My mom used to actually, before it became a TV show, like the late 90s, early 2000s, she used to buy storages, and what she would do is you can start like a consignment store or a store
right
whatnot.
Right.
And she actually bought one that had like a old Harley Davidson in it. And what happens is that the people will have the storages, but anything could happen as far as like they could have passed away.
Sure.
And no one knew that they even had the storage, or, it was a storage that, a relationship, or they went to jail, or, I mean, just whatever the cases may be, they don't really know. They just know that when you sign up for the storage, they tell you like, hey, if you don't pay this, we'll reserve the right. They keep.
My mom used to work for a really big storage company here in San Antonio, and for better part of the time she worked there, one of her responsibilities was auctioning off the repossessed lockers. And in 5 years, she never saw anybody find anything that was of significant value. Now, that said, you're right. There were a lot of people that would go and buy these things, and, like have like a flea market style store where they would sell used clothes and toys and books, and people will pay for that stuff, of course, at a discounted price. And so if you spend $40 and you get several boxes of old clothes, you can make way more than $40 off of that stuff. Absolutely. There's a viable business there. But what you don't find is people who I would imagine in the entire time your mom did that, maybe she found one unit that had like some really impressive, expensive stuff in it, and the rest of the time she like parted it out and sold it off, right?
She had a couple different ones. One of the units, but this is Dallas, so you got a number of Dallas is huge. She was going, Fort Worth, Dallas. Yeah, it was a lot of different. It's not like the lifestyle of San Antonio versus a place like Dallas. You're gonna, get a variety of things that can possibly happen. One of the units actually contained some boxes, and the boxes because she used one of the units to help me furnish my first apartment. One of my first apartments on my own in like the early 2000s, late 90s. Had a box of stuff, but when I went through it, it was like photos of the person and their kid and letters from the father. And so I spent, I would say, maybe like 15, 16 years trying to locate this person.
Cool.
And I finally located the person and was able to.
That's cool.
Their, photos, because I'm pretty sure like they thought that it was gone forever.
Right.
But, this was before MySpace. This was before,
right.
A lot of the social media.
Sure.
And so
I know somebody in my family who abandoned a storage unit because they were traveling. It was in another state. It was hard to get to, and that person lost some valuable stuff. Certainly, it happens, but I'm just saying it's gonna be unusual. I mean, even if somebody dies, if there's that much valuable stuff in it, normally, not always, there's going to be somebody to go and get the stuff. If you're in jail, shit, most of the people I know who have been in or in jail, it's like, money is a big, it's like if you have a storage unit that has a bunch of valuable shit in it, you've got kids or a wife or family members that you could very much use the value of that stuff. And so are there some people who get arrested that have nobody? Sure. Are there people that die who have nobody? Sure. Are there people that are just so lazy that even though the stuff is valuable, they just leave it? Sure. Of course that is. But I mean, you watch that show and I mean, these same people buying the storage units over and over and over again find these huge I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Based off of
reality television. Of course, it's not
right. Right. They had to make it interesting, and a show where people constantly get bags of fucking old clothes from the 80s is not going to be an interesting TV show. Of course,
that worked out as well.
So they salt the mine, so to speak, and fucking, make it look cooler than it actually is. And the saddest thing is how many people quit their jobs and went into buying storage units with the assumption that they were, gonna, once a month find a storage unit with $10,000 worth of shit in it. You know what I mean? Which of course isn't gonna happen. Anyways, does anybody remember there was I think it had something to do with what was happening with Trump was the reason I brought that shit up, but I can't remember what the fucking analogy was anymore. Yeah. Anyways, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Throwing shade.
Throwing shade? Is that what it was about?
I don't remember, man.
I don't remember. Anyways,
that was a pretty hard left turn.
I think there was a really good analogy I was going to make. I just have no idea what it is. Anyways, I think that's pretty cut and dry shit at this point. It'll be interesting to see what happens. You shouldn't be able to make all that money and not pay taxes. So many people do that. And it's a bit egregious. And, people should not be able to do that. I mean, if you think about all the money that we would have if the people who were making money just paid their fair share of taxes, I mean, life would be a lot easier, and they have a lot of fucking money. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do that.
That's what I was gonna say. Most of the people that are like trying to evade taxes are the ones that probably owe the most. They're the big rich companies that can afford to look for people to evade taxes. So the rich would just pay taxes.
Yes.
Now, and you know what? I read about this crap the other day. Is like before Ronald Reagan, all those guys, the government like took something like 50% from people that were like really, really rich, like over $1 million. They took a shitload from them.
Yeah.
I mean, right now the government only takes about 33% or something like that, or 25%.
No, it's still pretty fucking high. I mean, like when you win the lottery, that's why when you win the lottery, if you take it instantly, you only get like 56% or some shit of the actual money. Is as the amount you make increases, the amount you pay increases,
which is about 2/3. It's sitting at about a third of the money goes to the government.
That must have recently changed then, because it was higher than that forever.
The Mr. Trump was in office, he lowered the taxes, the tax bracket on the rich. So I think it even went down to 25% at one point.
Okay, let's see. Highest tax bracket in 2021 is 37%. There you go.
See?
It should be though, right? I mean, that's how most modern societies work. Like the less money you make, the more of it you need to take home. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. I agree with 30% or something like that. But I was just surprised that at one point, half of your money was going to the government.
Well, it wasn't though. That's the thing is,
that's
technically that's how much you were supposed to pay, but nobody who made that much money was actually paying those fucking taxes. If people who were supposed to pay the taxes paid it, probably wouldn't even need to be 37%, because there'd be so much more coming in that we could make the fucking brackets lower. But nobody fucking does. And for what it's worth, I mean, there is a difference between illegally evading paying taxes, which is what they're asserting happened here in the
Trump case.
Yeah, I can't think of the word. Anyways, in the prosecutions that they're doing, but the other side of that is people finding legal loopholes in the tax law and legally avoiding paying what it was expected that they would have to pay. I don't know.
So you're basically saying that it used to be 50% of what you can't hide, cheat, steal, and
right. Right. So that's 50%. And some people used legal means to avoid having to pay the 50%. Some people used legal means and illegal means to not have to, so they could pay even less. I don't know that you can fault somebody for, like if you make the rules, if I'm following the rules, right, that might not be what you intended, but then change the fucking rules, right? You give me rules to play by, I'm going to play by the rules. And I got to say, while I believe in the idea of taxes, I also know, in my personal opinion, I'd feel like I could do better things with the money maybe than the government could, and would be fine with legally avoiding paying 50 or 37% if I thought I would use that money to be, what's the word?
Philanthropy?
Yeah. Philanthropistic? I don't know. Philanthropic. There you go. And make sure that the majority of that money was always actually going to the people who needed it, and not this and that and so on and so forth. So I'm not even sure I'm knocking people that are legally avoiding paying those taxes. We should then change. I mean, our fucking tax law is like, even people that are really good at that shit don't know it all, because it's like 8 billion pages fucking long. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
There are other countries, that have much more simplistic tax law. Everybody know it's simple. You don't have to pay a bunch of people to help you figure out how to, it's like you make this much money, you're going to pay this percentage, period. There's no loopholes and shit to figure out. You just pay that shit and you move on, And
I don't know, some country in Europe, and it's like, it's all computerized. The government sends you this thing, you log on to a website, it says this is how much
we talked about that.
Boom.
I think we talked about it on one of the weeks. It's this country that like has everything all in one central thing, like all their healthcare information, their banking information, all that shit, and they can file their tax return in like 2 minutes. It's like you push a couple of buttons, boom, you're done. And that's it saves everybody some time, and it doesn't necessarily save everybody some money because people are paying more there, but I mean, come on. Like, are we really saying that people like Bill Gates donated 80-something% of his fucking money and he's still a fucking billionaire? Like, he could have just been paying taxes that whole fucking time. You know what I mean? It wasn't going to stop him. I know rich people like to suggest the ideas that the more money we take away from them, the less they can reinvest into the businesses and how many people they hire and the salaries they pay. But they don't do that shit. They just keep it. Like that's never what happens. It never trickles down. They just get richer. Everybody else just gets fucking poor. It never happens.
No, I don't think that's true. I believe completely in the trickle down theory.
Yeah. Yeah. The trickle down economy has led to, 0.01% of the population having like 95% of the money. So obviously it's effective.
That's right, exactly. It does work.
The distance between rich people and poor people is larger than it's ever been, and the middle class is almost non-existent. It's a perfect system.
That's right. Way to go, upper middle class.
I mean, I don't know, when the people who originally came up with that idea, I mean, for all I know, they legitimately thought that that's what would happen. And it's not impossible that's what could have happened, except it turns out, rich people are fucking greedier than we expected them to be.
That the world has greed.
Right. And that it's, that it's more pronounced than we originally expected, apparently. So, c'est la vie. Now it's time to readjust and go back to a system. I mean, if you think back to like the 50s and 60s, I mean, the economy was strong and there was a wide variety of wealth. You know what I mean? It wasn't just rich and poor. Like there was a very booming middle class that was the majority of society that were able to lead like full, rich, fulfilling lives, having normal fucking jobs like a teacher or a fucking accountant, and everybody was happy with that shit. And then
before credit cards, brother.
I mean, sure, I'm sure credit cards didn't help, but the fact that, at that time, 2%, I don't know what the exact number is, but 2% of the population didn't have 60-70% of the wealth at the time. It was spread out. And rich people were rich, but I mean, I'm just like it.
There was Rockefellers,
right? But there were very few of them, right? Not nearly as many billion. I mean, like it's ridiculous. But the point is, what I was trying to say is, I mean, it's even disgusting if you are greedy. I mean, like at this point, you have people that have more money than they literally can do anything. You know what I mean? It's like, even if you are somebody who just feels like you have to have everything, which is fucking stupid, especially since there's so much shit now. But like, even if I mean, like there are lots of people that could buy everything like million times over. I mean, what's the fucking point at this point? It's all,
they make more money than countries,
right?
Full on countries.
We are completely okay with people like not being able to eat and being poor as fuck so that somebody can have 4 times as much money as they can spend in 20 lifetimes instead of twice as much money as you can spend in 20. I mean, like at some point, like what is anybody getting out of what is causing lots of pain and suffering in our economy? Greed it's not even greed anymore. It's like, I don't even know what you call that. Narcissistic. I mean,
Uber greed.
Uber greed. Yeah. I mean, it's not
You
even
call
just
it the
about wanting
American way.
That's right, the American dream, buddy.
Yeah, but I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like even the epitome of the American dream was being able to have whatever you wanted and do whatever you wanted to do. This is so far fucking beyond that. Like, there is no benefit really to you having that much fucking money, but there's a huge downside to the rest of the economy for so few people having that much fucking money. Like, what good is it doing them? I don't even get that at
The
this
people
point.
with the money don't give a shit about the people without it. So that's
Right,
you
but
get your money.
sure.
You
Yes,
know,
I understand that, but
get your
I guess
money
what
and
I'm
fuck the
saying is,
rest.
even if you don't give a shit about anybody else, like when you reach the point of complete autonomy from any kind of economic, being held back economically in any way, shape, or form, and your kids won't ever be held back any form economically. Your grandkids and your grandkids and grandkids will be able to financially do whatever the fuck I mean, people are building private space companies now. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you can buy a fucking planet. Like, what the fuck else do you need the money for at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, be
Well,
greedy.
if you got the money, do what you want to do with it.
But yes, which is what greed is, and I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying at some point you've reached that level, right? And so even if it is all about you, at some point you can't benefit yourself anymore by having more fucking money. So why
You
why
are a
do it?
socialist. You're full-fledged card-carrying socialist that thinks people should just redistribute the money.
I'm saying that if you get to a point where don't like this isn't a I care, I only care about myself. Like, now you're making money to where you have to actively despise other people, right? Like, I've gotten everything I need. Now what can I do? I can take so much money out of the economy that I fucking destroy everybody else. That's not just greed. That's like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to now not just be all about yourself, but be actively about hurting everybody else. Like, there's nothing else that's accomplished from having that much money except that you're taking it away from other people who need it now. That's not greed. That's like, it's like fucking an economic serial killer. You know what I mean? It's like,
remember that we talked, and I know we talked about this. Amazon, which now I'm gonna get in trouble just for saying the name. Amazon had been doing that thing where they were like, well, it's the only place you can sell stuff on the internet. Other companies, small companies would sell new ideas, new things, or whatever, and because of some law on the website of whatever of Amazon would go and figure out how to make it cheaper and just buy them out of the market.
Yeah, it wasn't an Amazon law. It was just basic patent law. They changed it enough that they couldn't get sued for the thing that they were making, but it was essentially the same thing. And then they price it so low that even they weren't making money off of it. And then they'd wait for whoever had originally come up with the original one to have to go out of business because they couldn't compete. And then that person would be gone and they'd be the only person who made it anymore. And they still do that shit. That's what I'm saying. It's like, how much money
they buy the companies too.
They'll do that. Yep, sure. Yeah, and I gotta say, as shitty as it feels, if they are willing to buy you out, fucking take the money because you're gonna be fucked. At least you get some money out of it. Well, there's no way you can fight them.
They ruin you first. Usually, it's kind of a little bit of both. Like, they'll start making the product so your company's a little bit worthless or worth less.
Right.
Not worthless, but worth less.
Right.
And then buy up the company, and then they have the patents to the original one.
Right, because I'm assuming that they've done the math and that's a little bit cheaper than the money they'll lose selling it at a loss for the time it takes to put you out of business. And so mathematically, it makes more sense to offer you some money to bow out quicker. And I'm saying, I mean, maybe technically you make them lose a little bit more money, but if you want to have any victory in this whatsoever, take the fucking money and run, because you can't stop them. And that's my point, is like, how much money he has. Enough money that he's literally privately sending people up into space, right? He could be the first person to get to fucking Mars. I mean, like, what is it that you need this money so badly that you're
do it?
Huh?
Why not do it?
Because I guess up until recently, right? I have this conversation with people all the time where with the company I work at, they say that we're just charging them as much money as we can to make as much money as we can. And based on the way our company is set up, there really isn't any way for us to profit over overcharging, right? And I explain that to them and they're like, well, they still might be doing it. And I say, typically when somebody's going to go to a lot of effort to do something, there has to be a benefit, right? Like if there isn't money at the end of the rainbow, why go to all the trouble to do it in the first place? Just to be an asshole? Like, I mean, greedy people might be assholes, but they're selfish assholes, right? There's some benefit to them being greedy or, cheating or whatever it is that they're doing, ripping people off. It's because they get richer at the end, right? But I'm saying if you're so fucking rich that you're not benefiting from it anymore, that becomes something else. Like this isn't just you looking after yourself or your own or your people. Like you've done that already, right? And so now I'm not saying quit and stop making money, but if you've gotten to that point, you can certainly stop putting small businesses out of business just to make more money. You can stop paying the people who work at your factories so make them work so hard and pay them so little that they have to carry pee bottles around because they can't take time to go to the fucking bathroom because it's too far away for them to go and come back in their break time. I mean, like you have enough money that what are the benefit? Like if greed's no longer the benefit, then what is the benefit, right? Now you're just being an asshole. It's not even greed anymore. You're just purposely being a douchebag for nothing.
Oh, breaking news.
I silenced everybody.
Sorry, breaking news.
Yeah.
Joey Chestnut wins his 14th Nathan's Famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest with a world record breaking 76 francs.
Sweet. I know there I want to say there was an Asian girl that was like kicking ass there for a while.
Yeah. He was, but 14 times he's
sweet.
Is it within a minute or something? I don't remember what it was.
Something like that. 5 minutes, something like that. Yeah. I've never like to each their own, but goddamn, I don't get like if I eat too much, I feel sick.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. I don't get the eating competitions or the ones where it's like eat this and you get your picture up on the wall. Like none of that seems appealing to me at all. Like it's like I'm gonna put myself through a bunch of pain and misery. I mean, honestly, if you offered me money, I don't think that'd be like one of the things where I'd be like, no, that's not worth it to me. But I could at least understand like some real prize money. But in most of these places, it's like
most of the time I'm like, nah, it's okay. But there is one like in Lubbock or something, Texas, that it's like the old 96er. It's like a steak that's 96 ounces of meat.
Yep.
That I have wanted to like actually train for.
And it's not just the steak too. You have to eat all the sides. It's like a salad, a baked potato.
Oh, yeah. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing.
Then they
try and do that.
They did that although the steak on the movie was obviously not 96 ounces, but what's the one where they
Great Outdoors, baby.
Great Outdoors. That's what it was. Yeah. And he eats the whole thing and they're like, oh no, you got to finish the gristle.
And poor John Candy's like just crying. I mean, just crying. Dan Aykroyd he can do it. He'll do it. I never
understood that. Plus, it's got to be so fucking unhealthy. Like,
oh yeah. Absolutely.
All of it. Like there's no
that guy, the eating challenge guy.
Yeah.
He had done all those challenges, went across the country doing all the eating challenges.
Oh, the one on the TV show?
Yeah, he didn't win all of them, but he gave a shot at all of them. He did, I think it was 2 or 3 years, and then he had to stop because the doctor actually said, you're gonna do this
kill
more seasons, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So then you'd have like a team that they would try and beat the that was the next one, but it wasn't as fun watching him like try and kill himself.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember. And like I watched it occasionally. It was painful to watch.
Yeah.
It was just like, stop eating, man. What is wrong with you?
And it wasn't just like amounts. It was like some of the crap was like the hottest peppers in the world and crap.
Yeah. There's a sushi roll that like looks like a giant ice cream cone that like is super spicy that you got to eat the whole thing. And no, it's. I don't know. I've never understood it. And I mean, from the marketing standpoint, I mean, it's pure fucking genius.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody comes in and spends all this fucking money. You get all this fucking publicity. You know, even if they do accomplish it, which they never fucking do, like you're out $80 or some shit every,
you probably inspired some idiot behind you to give it a shot next time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. People talk about it. Yeah. No, I mean, it's genius and it's horrible. I mean, I
give them a shirt and put their picture on the wall.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was one that my brother did. Now it was a much more reasonable one. It was like a pretty big hamburger, but I mean, it wasn't like anything you see on now, right? It was like a quadruple burger. With each patty was like a third of the pound, which is a big fucking hamburger, but it's not like like the pizza one. I mean, the pizza was the size of a fucking table, for Christ's sake. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you get,
you tells you like this is the size of your stomach.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get your picture. That was they got their pictures up on the wall, and he was in high school, and they could eat a lot, so they did it. But I mean, it's never.
I had a buddy who did there's only like 5 hot wing challenge. It was like supposed to be hottest hot wings, whatever.
Yeah.
And a release form and everything. And
I think I remember that. Didn't he end up in the hospital?
He shit blood for like 5 days. I mean, it seemed like it was worth the shirt and photo.
Yeah. Another friend of ours, I remember, just drank the thing. Like we paid him $20 to drink the thing. I was like, if I had more money, I'd give it to you. That was I almost felt bad challenging him to do it in the first place. Like that was just for $20.
I like that you almost felt bad.
I drank one time for $20. I drank the drainage of a can of tuna fish, and I didn't die from it. It was just gross.
Yeah.
Then in my school, they paid somebody to like $40 to drink one, it's like paste picante sauce that you get at like Costco. It's like the jug. And I'm like, what? Like that literally could physically destroy your stomach. Like, why would you do that for $20? That was fucking stupidest shit I've ever seen.
There's these dried peppers in Chinese food, like the spicy Chinese food. It comes with like little dried out red peppers in there. You're in high school, you have to, unless you want to do something illegal, you kind of have to figure out a way to make some money if you want to do things. So I used to challenge people at lunch that they'd have to eat one of those peppers, and then not drink anything for some like 10 minutes, I think. And I would bet them, I think $10. Like I would put up $10 and they would put up $10, and then they never made it. I mean, like it was terrible. Yeah, I watched these people like cry and go through all sorts.
It's like the cinnamon challenge or the gallon of milk thing.
I still put the money away. If they came back for a second try, I made them do 3 peppers, and in 10 minutes. So like it got collectively worse or whatever every time you came back to do it.
It's like the cinnamon one that people keep trying to do it. It's like
it's impossible.
Yeah, it's a reason why they say it's fucking impossible. Like, why would you try to do that?
For the gallon of milk.
I mean, it's like a medical certainty that you're gonna puke that shit up. You can't digest it. You know, like it's not how cool or strong or badass you are. Like your stomach can't digest that much dairy. You're gonna puke that shit up. There's all there is to it.
You are just like fantastically putting your finger down your throat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's fun to watch though. All right, so how about the Cosby shit? That is crazy. I'm really upset that he's gonna get out. At the same time, unless I'm missing something, like they totally fucked that up. Like, I mean, got him to do video confession based on giving him a deal, right? That's the whole reason he agreed to confess. And then they reneged on the deal and used the video against him. Like, you're not allowed to do that. Like, everybody knows you can't do that. Like, what the fuck? And you're going to get away with doing it to Bill Cosby? Like, maybe, like, not that this is okay, but like, some 22-year-old moron with no attorney, you might get away with doing that because they don't fucking know any better. But Bill Cosby's not the person you're going to get away with doing that trick to. You know what I mean? Like there's no fucking way.
Kira Sedgwick could have got away with it.
The thing is, they did it.
What's that?
They did it because it was. They did it because it was bigger than just. I mean, he only did what, 2 years. You know, the point wasn't to do that and be like, "Oh, we messed up." That wasn't the point. That's the surface level. You have to dig deeper and see what was the agenda to destroy him. Because once there can be the allegations. That won't destroy somebody. Allegations are allegations, but a conviction will destroy you. He was in the process of buying a major network. He done so much for HBCUs and the Black community, and he was an icon for many years to, you know, fathers, Black fathers. It wasn't about the code, because this all happened with just that one person.
Do you think if he had pled guilty and gone to jail, that wouldn't have destroyed him?
No, that's the thing. Him just being put in jail and being convicted of something that they wasn't supposed. They're saying that, oh, they weren't supposed to do it. It was an accident. You don't have that type of accident.
Yeah,
I don't think it was an accident. I mean, they knew what they were doing when they did it, but I'm just saying, as far as
here's why, because they knew at some point they're gonna have to be like, oh, yeah, we weren't supposed to do that. Oops. But by that time, he would already be destroyed. Everything taken off of all of the decades of legacy of what he did. That
right,
was
but my only issue with that,
he slept with a chick that looked like Howard Stern.
My only issue with that idea is that the reason he got his case kicked was because he had agreed with the prosecutors to plead guilty for lesser charges. And if he did that, he had to confess, and they videotaped that confession based on him
from conviction.
No, not immune from conviction.
A deal tried for that.
But that wasn't the agreement that he made with them that made him willing to go and videotape those confessions, right?
They could not try him on that.
Right. Lesser charges, right? They were still going to charge him. They were still going to put him in jail, but he had a deal, which is, I mean, pretty standard stuff, right? Everybody nowadays, especially more than ever, you get caught doing something, right? Instead of charging you for what they used to be, what they used to charge you for, now they charge you for like 85 things to give themselves more leverage when they take you to court. And then when they take you to court, they say, all right, we can prosecute you for all 85 of these things, which will get you 40 years in jail. And maybe we'll not win some of them, and maybe we won't. And so maybe we'll end up successfully prosecuting you for 20 of them, and you'll end up doing 10 years in jail. Or you can take this plea deal and you'll do 18 months, right?
What they charged them for is what they were not supposed to charge them for, based on the agreement of the confession.
Exactly. So instead,
the prosecutor was the prosecutor was like, "Oh, our bad." That's all. That's why they immediately released him.
Well, I mean, it's not immediately. I mean, the case was a while back, right? They had to.
No, I'm talking about right now when they overturned it. Like, they knew even before bringing this case that they were not supposed to. That was the agreement.
Right. Yeah, agreed. But
they brought it because you had the statute of limitations was about to run out. So they was like, well, let's go ahead and try them. I know we're not supposed to. We'll probably get shitted on later once it comes to light. But by that time, they'll just release him and say, "Oh no, we will get this man out of jail. He was not supposed to."
But that's not
violation of the agreement. But what will happen in the meantime is that everything he's done, his whole legacy, all of it will be destroyed, and that's the end goal. He cannot purchase ABC.
I understand what you're saying. Still not getting to make my point though, which is that he agreed to take the lesser charges, right? Which means he would be convicted of those charges, right? Without mounting any case suggesting that he didn't do those, and agreed to videotape confess to the shit that he did. And so I'm saying is,
what were the
my
lesser
issue
charges?
with the argument that you're making is,
what were the lesser charges? You know?
No, I don't. We could look it up, but you really, I get, my argument is, had he agreed to plead to those lesser charges and made those videotape confessions, which are now public information that everybody can watch,
right?
How could he? I mean, he would have been ruined anyways. So the idea that they broke this rule just to ruin him, I think is hard to believe, that when the tapes came out where he admitted to dosing women with shit so that they would be unconscious while he fucking had sex with them, that it would be, that he would have somehow gotten through all this and still been Bill Cosby at the end of it.
Right. But that's not true, because those tapes were made in something like 2009 or something ridiculous like that. So they've had those tapes for a long time, and Cosby's been Cosby for a long fucking time.
No, I mean, those tapes, that's the whole thing, is the whole thing that got the case thrown out was that he agreed to do those videotapes based on getting a deal for a lesser charge. That's why he did the tapes. And then instead of going through with that deal, they threw it out and prosecuted him and used the tapes to do it. That's the whole.
Yeah, well, no, but it didn't happen back to back. Like, he did that whole thing and they did that, whatever it was that happened before. That was like in 2009, 2013 or something. And then 10 years later, they decided to prosecute him for the crime they said they weren't going to prosecute him for. They did that 10 years later. They didn't do that like the next day.
That's the
actual videos are from like 10 years ago.
Well, okay. All I know is that maybe that's true, but in the timeline of things, when everybody found out what was going on and then found out that he was actually guilty of it because there were videotapes of him confessing it, it wasn't like people are like, well, we're okay with that. Oh, they're going to charge him with blah, 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 blah. Now we're not okay with it. I mean, that's not what happened. People heard what happened, doubted it, tapes came out, and everybody realized it was true, and then everybody hated him.
Yeah, those tapes were made in 2005.
You got to realize there's a difference. And he made a comment. You can make comments now online and shit like that. He made confessions, whatever the case may be.
No, I mean, that's not true. Think about
it. He had AIDS and was just out poking bitches. That's not the point.
Who?
That's not the point.
Who had AIDS and was fucking people?
Fuck yeah. Was it Charlie Sheen or one of them? Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. But the thing is
everybody,
but that's not a
don't love Charlie Sheen.
What?
People think Charlie Sheen is a crazy fuck up drug addict with AIDS. I mean,
right. That's cool. Like Robert Downey Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's no problem. But he can redeem himself from Iron Man. But this is the fucking point. So you got Dr. Cosby doing what he's doing for the community. They will not stand for that. They destroyed it on purpose.
Okay, but
it's the difference in having a conviction versus an allegation. So when you look at why when you look at why it happened to him, I mean, you know, he had people in his corner, no problem. But this all stemmed off of the one case with the coach that they said that they had that one, you know, what they used to do. The chick that looked like Howard Stern. It's not about. It wasn't
off of one thing. There was tons of women that came forward.
Bro, this is from the one. This is what I'm telling you. Look it up.
The one that is the thing that they prosecuted him on, but that's what. But you're talking. They're not the same thing. What they prosecuted him for and what society decided to hate him for don't have to be the same thing. Like, regardless
of. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
But it is, because you're saying they did it to destroy him. And what destroys him isn't the prosecution; it's what society thinks of him. That's where the destruction comes.
That's not the way it works, buddy. What destroyed him is the conviction that took away all of his accolades. Society is not going to be able to legally.
How does convicting him take away? Getting conviction, they don't take away your accolades when you get convicted of something. That's not part of the criminal process.
Dude, bro, are you crazy? Yes.
No. What do you?
All that shit that he did, the having being his doctrines, his everything. You look at okay. First, look at what
not the court. The organizations that gave him those things took them away, and it's not a legal.
Convicted of it. That's the thing. It's not when the allegations came out, because you could have these allegations. That doesn't matter until you don't have to agree, bro. That's your opinion. This is what I'm telling you.
This is your opinion too. I'm saying I disagree with you. There's no legal standing that says that you can't take away somebody's doctorate that you gave them, because there's a difference between being a doctor and being awarded a doctorate from a college. A college can take that shit away from you whenever they want to, and they don't have to do it. There's no law that says that when you get convicted, they are legally required to take it away from you.
The laws that they have, that when they bestow these accolades onto you, you can't have these convictions. It's not like Robert Downey Jr. becoming Iron Man and the hero.
There's moral clauses. There are moral clauses in things, and being convicted of something is not the only clause in the morality thing. Like it's not as simple as you either get convicted or you don't, and so then you either get these things taken away or you don't. It's not black and white like that.
Once the conviction happened, once he got locked up, that's when the.
But he would have still been convicted and locked up with the deal that they agreed to.
No, he wouldn't have.
Yes,
that's why. Why do you think he's out right now, bro?
Because they broke the law, not because the deal was better. It was because they broke the law and his conviction got. Yes.
So that's the case. Okay, so they broke the law, right? They broke the law that sent him to jail. Think about what you're saying. They broke a law that sent him to jail. Because they broke that law that they agreed on, they had to immediately release him.
Right, because when you prosecute somebody, even if they did it or didn't do it, if you don't follow the rules and the prosecution gets vacated, you have to let somebody out of jail. That doesn't mean that if
he would have never been in jail, just like he's not in jail.
No, that's not what that means. I'm sorry, but that's not what that means. It doesn't mean that he would have never been in jail. They could have still prosecuted him correctly, and he could have gone to jail. That's not what that means.
No, wait, Adam, no, the original one in 2005, the DA did not have enough evidence against him
to
actually take him to trial. So he got that interview. I don't know how he got the interview. He got the interview and he agreed not to prosecute Cosby on those things. In 2005, Cosby was not prosecuted of any crime. He was let go free, but he did give the testimony that he had, that afterwards he gave this testimony that said that he drugged and raped the girl, and then the girl went to a civil suit and got $3-point-something million from Cosby in a civil suit based on that confession, the testimony. But now 10 years later, in 2015 or 2016 or whatever, they actually used that case to send him to jail, which they weren't supposed to do, and they agreed not to.
And he didn't lose all of his accolades and everything until he got convicted and went to jail. That's the part that I'm talking about.
Yes, this is true. Like,
so fuck what society feels, bro.
It's not fuck what society feels. I'm sorry, you're still wrong about. Those things only go away if you get convicted of a crime. That is not accurate. That's just not true.
Specifically for him, all of his accolades and everything that he's done was eradicated once
he got convicted. But that doesn't mean it couldn't have happened had he not got convicted.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. The guy raped women. Like, it does matter. Like, to suggest that the only reason he deserves any of this shit to happen to him is because,
like I always say, we had presidents and slaves at the same time. there's so many fucking atrocities that have happened.
So it's okay for one person to do it because somebody else got away with it? Like, that still doesn't make it okay.
You're gonna have a point to make based off of feeling. Like, go into the logistics and the facts of it. What I'm saying is that and you can say it may be my opinion, but there was a cabal set to wipe all this out. Once it got wiped out, they were like, "Oh yeah, our bad."
Because why? But that's the thing I don't understand is Bill Cosby was celebrated by the black and white community. So who was it that was desperate to destroy his reputation for no reason?
But I do know that prosecutors and cops, they get really fucking pissed off, and they want to have their whole job that they see is that they need people that have done something wrong, or they believe have done something wrong in their eyes. They need consequences. Like, they need to be.
Yeah, because I would
happen to them.
Paint another picture, which is that years after he made those videotapes and that deal, and all this shit started to come out because what's his name, that comedian with the weird name that I can't think of, started making jokes about how Bill Cosby rates women and, you know, knocks them out and rapes them. And it became part of his fucking stand-up act. And it started getting a whole lot more attention, because I would argue that when it happened originally, not a lot of people heard about it and were paying attention to it. And then later on, when it started coming to light, people started hearing about it and getting really pissed off about the fact that this had happened. And I would argue that what happened was the prosecutors came back and convicted him because, well, 10 years ago, nobody gave a shit. Now society was in a roar and upset that this had happened and nothing had happened. And they took a swing and tried to do what they could do to try to subside the fact that public interest had gone against them.
But they did it illegally.
They did, absolutely. And they should not have done that. I mean, all other things aside, you don't get to change the rules. I mean, period. Like, you don't get to do that. Like, you fucked up the first time. You don't get to just change the rules and do something regardless of how egregious the shit the person did is or who they are or whatever. It doesn't change any of that. And I wholeheartedly agree with the fact that they threw out his case. They shouldn't have done that shit. You can't do that. I mean, they made an agreement. Our whole justice system depends on the idea that when we make agreements with the state and the county and whoever the fuck it is that's prosecuting us, that if you do this, I'll do that. If that breaks down and they can just promise us shit and then not fucking do it, the whole fucking justice system breaks down. I mean, people can't testify against anybody. I mean, you know, you can't do that. You have to live up to what you say you're going to fucking do, or the shit doesn't work. And they didn't, and they got fucked and, you know, got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And what happened is exactly what should have happened. They shouldn't have fucking done that is the point. They should have found another way to fucking prosecute him. They shouldn't have made the deal with him in the fucking first place. I mean, something else should have happened, but this isn't the fucking answer to it. They fucked up, and it sucks because I feel like it hurts me that Bill Cosby turned out to be this guy. I mean, I totally agree with you. He was a shining example of what could be, or not even what could be, what often is and doesn't get a light shined. I mean, it's not like he was some strange idea of what a black man could be. There were plenty of black men just like Bill Cosby in real life. I should say, like Dr. Huxtable in real life. And instead, all we saw was like jive talking guys who owned fucking, you know,
Superfly.
Yeah, well, or like I don't know. I mean, it's just, you know, we had a very obvious portrayal of what a black person was, even successful black people. Like, even one, you know, it's not like they were criminals on TV, but they were still very typical, you know, stereotypical black people. And here was a guy.
Most of them were criminals, actually. I mean, that was the portrayal of black people at the time.
Yeah, not necessarily. Before the Cosbys came out, it was, I mean, certainly that was something being portrayed as well, but it wasn't like there weren't successful or non-law-breaking black people on television before Cosby, but it certainly was nothing to that precedence. What?
George Jefferson?
Yeah, George. Well, sure, he would be one of them, but I mean, there's tons of TV shows with black people that weren't criminals. I mean,
I don't know if there's that many.
All in the Family, the Jeffersons, different.
That's the It's the same
It
dude.
wasn't about just a TV show. That's the thing. The TV show was one thing.
No, you're right. He did a bunch of shit.
It was about what he had done for Black kids, college, a different, like a different world, education, contributions. All of those people on that show, those young Black kids on that show, they had to go to college and they all have degrees.
Right.
He paid for it. He what you would call I don't say philanthropist, but he put in work. He put in a lot of work. Then once he started to make the process to buy the network, that's when they said no.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that.
He did all the philanthropy, but unfortunately, while he was doing the philanthropy, he was also drugging and raping women.
Right. I mean, you don't get to do both, like that's the.
No, you don't get to do both, but they're doing it all over in Hollywood, and you don't get to do it.
They are. No, you're right. People get away with it.
What they did is they definitely made sure they went after him when he said, "Oh, I'm going to buy a network, and I'm also going to bring back what I was doing as far as a positive image of Black people on TV." Sure. They said, "Nah, you ain't finna. This is not the '80s. You ain't finna do that in this day and age. Not with all these woke and righteous Black people. You ain't finna do that at all. You know what? Didn't you used to do this? Because these people, they know they have this information on each other, man. They're like, okay, you getting a little bigger for your britches. So we finna go ahead and."
I don't think that stuff like that doesn't happen. And to that extent, I agree with you that there is like an inner circle of people that know what's going on, and if somebody thinks that you're interfering with what they're trying to do or the money that they're trying to make, certainly they play dirty and all that shit. But I think that there are also other explanations for why it happened when it happened that would also be reasonable explanations that weren't.
Well, yeah, that's just the one explanation that I'm giving, and then the rebuttal to it is, well, you shouldn't do that anyway.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and that's fine if that's going to be the repetitious rebuttal, then I mean, then
it should be the standard.
Yes, that's all it. That's all it.
It should be the standard.
I'm not gonna continue to try to convey something that is obvious when you actually look into it, like at all.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you're right. If
pointless
people of minority status try and do something great, and other people are gonna try and tear them down. That's the way it is. And you have to have your closet clean before you try and do something that grand or on such a grand scale, because they will find it. They will tear you down if you don't. And
I would add, like, if you're not Black, it's possible to not have a clean closet and still accomplish those things. Although it is also possible to not be Black and still, I mean, there have been plenty of successful white people who have had their success ruined by the shit, by the skeletons in their closet. But
there's also some that they get
agreed.
a pass.
Agreed. And it doesn't seem like
elected Trump, a whole bunch of people.
Right. Agreed. And it doesn't seem like if you're Black,
now, what's his name? The
can have anything in your closet. And the worst part of it is, like, this is not something anybody should be able to have in their closet and get away with it. But there is shit that, depending on who it is, we can be like, well, that's not great, but we still really like the guy. You know what I mean? And it seems like that's easier for that to happen if you're white.
Parts of the whole not really cancel culture, because it really shouldn't be. Some of it's actually really good, and it's hilarious that they're tearing down these institutions that have been there for thousands of years, or well, at least hundreds of years, that we've known about, the society has known about for years, and people are just now getting in trouble for it now. I mean, the whole casting couch sexual payment for lead roles in TV shows and movies, that's been going on for years, so much that we've been joking about it.
Part of it
only now get in trouble with it.
But part of it too is a turn in what society deems acceptable, right? I would argue that, unfortunately, a big part of why that nobody did anything about that before wasn't because there wasn't a cancel culture to call people out on, but was because as a society, it wasn't something that we were that upset about. It's like,
Absolutely. Well,
a
then, like,
lack of understanding how fucked up and detrimental it could be. Like, I think the idea was like, look, it's your choice. You want to do it, do it. You don't. And we really thought of it as something that simple. And it took a time and people really, speaking out and being brave to like kind of point out it's really not that fucking simple, right? There's a lot more to it than that. Well, it's not okay for sure, but it isn't just a matter of, hey, I could do this and get ahead, or not do it and not get ahead, which, you shouldn't have to sleep with somebody to get ahead, but it's more complicated than that. It really often isn't something that somebody feels like they have a choice in, right? They often feel like it's not a matter of, am I going to get the promotion or not? It's a matter of, am I even going to have a chance to be an actor because this person's powerful enough that they could just decide to completely fucking destroy me. It's, people decide, whether or not, am I going to get the promotion, or are they going to fucking fire me and I have kids at home to feed and I can't deal with getting fired right now. There's all kinds of shit associated with it.
There was the largest lawsuit ever that was brought against the NFL was put in court this week, and it's from cheerleaders. Most of them, or some of them, from the Washington Redskins cheerleaders that were said that they were sexually harassed, not only sexually harassed, but used as bargaining chips for players. They would be sent home with players, and the whole understanding was that they were going to have sex with these players or recruits or anything, and Snyder, my buddy Snyder, Dan Snyder, I love that guy. He is the owner of the Redskins. He had to step down as the owner of the Redskins, and his wife is taking over right now because of this lawsuit. The cheerleader, and that's another one that people have known for years. I mean, we've been joking about it for years.
I mean, I would say even more so when it comes to colleges, right? I mean, they can't pay them, right? So you go on the what do they call that shit when you're trying to decide who you're gonna go with, and you go on those fucking meet and greets where they try to convince you who to.
The movies, The Program, Johnny Be Good.
Right.
When he went to go to colleges, the cheerleaders took him.
I love there's that fucking show. It's like Colorado State or Mountain Rocky something.
Yeah.
I love that fucking show, but that's a big part of it as well. And what they portray, and I guess maybe wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, is that there are these girls who want to sleep with these guys who were great college players and they think it would be fun and so forth. And I guess if that's all there was to it, probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? But obviously when, there's money on the line and contracts and, the idea is it could very easily not be that anymore, right?
And that's the other crazy part. And this was in, let's see,
I think it's also really
fictional, but it was The Program where like one of the roided up athletes like assaults a lady, a girl, a college student, and the father doesn't refuses to bring charges because he's a donor. He's a major donor for the college.
Right.
That's just insane to me,
Yeah, I think what people fail to realize, I maybe, I think I was one of them, is that when there's money and power and opportunity on the line, even when you don't think that that's what's going on, that could be what's going on, right? It's a really, really hard thing to walk, because, I mean, like, ideally, in a perfect world, if two people wanted to, with eyes open and no problems with it whatsoever, want to do a quid pro quo thing, I mean, they're both consenting adults. I mean, I don't know, is there something wrong with that or not? But the problem is that the dynamic involved there is way too complicated to ever really know for sure that it is two completely willing, consenting adults. You don't really know what's going on in the other person's brain. And I think what we're starting to realize now more than ever is that it's not necessarily what we thought it was, right? And that often people can be portraying themselves as a willing participant because they feel like they have to be doing that, in which case they're not really a willing participant anymore. And that's not okay. I don't think anybody should have to do those things to get ahead. Let me be very clear about that. When I say the two consenting adult things, look, you when it comes to work, you should be judged on the quality and capability of doing your work and nothing else. I mean, that's clear. I mean, that's obviously the way it should be. But then I think there is kind of like this upper level to like, is it really just you being inappropriate in how you dole out work, and are you being morally disgusting and despicable by having people do things that they don't want to do? I don't know if those are two different things or not. If they are, if it is technically two willing people that are happy about the prospects of this deal that they're making, I don't know how morally disgusting that is, but it should never come down to that. Like, you should be able to just get by on how well you do your job and how smart you are and how capable you are, and that should be it. And this idea that we can walk that fine line of like, no, it's okay because she does really like me and wants to be doing this. It's like, I don't know that you can be in that relationship and really know that for a fact. You know what I mean? That's where it becomes really sticky. You don't know that that's the case. And the other thing that I think a lot of people did that was also really unfair is it wasn't just like, deciding whether, but like, it would often happen, so quickly that the person who's the without power in this situation just doesn't, might even have been somebody who would have said no, except they had like 5 seconds to decide, you know what I mean? And that's like, and that, I mean, not that it's okay in any situation, but I'm just saying there's lots of different aspects of why the appearance might be consensual adults when that's really not what's going on. And there's really no way to know whether that's what's going on. And I think we hear stories all the time of men who are the ones in power who are now realizing that the person that they thought was, consensually fooling around with them, and that there wasn't, are realizing that wasn't actually the case. And they just didn't know because the person didn't feel like they were in a position where they could say, I really don't want to do this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing it because I think I have to, but I'm afraid if I tell you that, you'll get offended and there'll be repercussions for it. And there very well could have been. How could they know for sure that there wasn't? Like it's too sticky of a situation. It really, I don't know. Like, for a long time, really felt like it's hard to meet, for a lot of people, it's hard to meet somebody. And especially if you work all the time, it's like kind of hard to imagine that isn't going to sometimes happen in the workplace. Right. And so like, if two people who really, really like each other, like what's wrong with that? Right. I mean, they should be able to be happy regardless of their work status. Right. But I think the problem is it could be, like, it's very hard to know for sure that is in fact what's going on. When there is a power dynamic, it's very hard to know for sure that somebody doesn't feel somewhat more obligated than they should be feeling in order to do that. And I don't know how you fix that. Like, I don't know that there's a way where you can be 100% sure that that's not what's going on, And if you can't, then it shouldn't be happening. You know what I mean? Nobody should ever feel like they have to be obligated to do something like that. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. I haven't really thought about it, but that's just kind of, what I was thinking. I will say this, just as a maybe a prelude to next week's conversation. I think that the broad thinking is that men are dogs and women are just more sophisticated than we are, right? And so one of the problems with sexual harassment is there's so many more men in power than there are women, and men are dogs. And so with men in power, this is what you see. I think, and I could be completely wrong here, right? We won't know until things change and get more distributed the way they should be. But I think you're going to find that as women start, become more powerful and take over the positions that used to be positions held by men, and it becomes more evenly distributed, I don't think you're going to see a huge change in sexual harassment simply because it's women in the position of power instead of men. I think the reason why there's more men being, being accused of or being found guilty of, or we're finding out are using their power in ways that they shouldn't, that have to do with sex, and it is simply because there is more men in power right now, which it shouldn't be. We need to, I mean, that's on a whole nother problem that needs to be taken care of. But I wholeheartly believe that any group of people, male, female, gay, straight, black, white, Jewish, Christian, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? You take a large group of those people, and a certain percentage of them are just pieces of shit. Maybe that's taking it too far, but I mean, like.
Well, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. A percentage of any population is going to be crap.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
Right. I don't think that men are that much worse than women are. I think
it's
that
pretty close. Or it may not be. Well, I disagree. I think there's a little bit more men that are pieces of crap than there are women that are pieces of crap. Not saying there's not. I mean, but I think there may be a proportional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things we're going to be talking about next week, and we do need to wrap it up here pretty soon. But I think when you start looking at statistics, like the amount of men abused by women is not that much smaller. It doesn't get talked about nearly as much, but men get abused by women almost as much as women get abused by men physically. When you look at what was the other one? Crap. There's another that I can't think of. When you look at the amount of men raped by women, it's not as much, but you'd be surprised how small the difference is statistically by how often it happens to men as opposed to how often it happens by women. I think people assume that it's like 98% men. That's just not mathematically true.
What's crazy, and what's also crazy is if there's a problem for women reporting rape because they find themselves or they feel that it's a shame.
Right.
I imagine would be a whole bunch of men that wouldn't do it,
Sure. How embarrassing is it, the idea that, whether that's right or wrong, and it's not right, you shouldn't feel any more ashamed, right? But the idea that, you let a woman do that to you, with the idea that men are the big, strong, powerful ones, right? And now this dainty woman did it to you. I totally agree. I think it probably doesn't get reported nearly as often as it happens. And yet the numbers that we have show that the difference is not as big as you think it is. And so as women are starting to become more liberated in the workforce, right? And I shouldn't say allow, but getting the positions that they deserve to get, just like everybody else does, right? And things are changing to the way they should be, slowly, right? And these numbers are changing. The amount of cases of men being sexually harassed by women are going way up because now there's more and more women in a position to sexually harass men. And so I think that what we're all going to realize decades from now is that it's really not that much, it doesn't matter what group you look at, right? Statistically, it's not really that different. Like none of us are aren't that much more mature than another group is. We're not, emotionally more, developed than another group is. We're not, more caring. One group isn't more caring. One group isn't less caring. One group isn't more sexual than the other. I mean, dude, have you ever seen women at a male strip club? I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, you telling me women aren't into sex? Then fucking watch that one time and then let's have a conversation. They go fucking insane at a strip club, which is fine. Like, do your thing.
Sales for what is that, what was it called? The men's strip movie.
The Magic Mike, yeah, right.
Ticket sales for
girls go crazy for that shit. And the truth is, if we did 1/10 of what women did in a male strip club at a female strip club, we'd fucking get our asses kicked. Like, you can't do that shit. Like, they go nuts, and it's okay because they're women, and the men don't feel, and that's fine. I mean, the men don't feel scared or abused or whatever, and so everybody's fine with it. Fine. I mean, if everybody's happy with it, say la vie. But like, we do any of that shit in a female strip club, we get kicked out because women don't feel okay with that. And again, that's fine. You shouldn't have to do anything you don't want to do or feel uncomfortable, and that's fine. But I'm just saying. Yeah, well, and I mean, even if the rules are different, to suggest women aren't into that stuff, or they don't get excited, or can't lose their mind and go crazy, or do things that maybe they shouldn't be doing but can get away with it, that's bullshit. Like, everybody will, like, not everybody, but a percentage of everybody will. You give them the opportunity to do those things, and they're going to do it because they can. There's a percentage of people that are going to do whatever you let them get away with doing, because they just, that's what stops them, is that they're not allowed to, you know what I mean? So I think, I don't think that it's only a male problem. I think it's just men have been the ones that have been in position to have a problem, and neither one of those things are okay. It shouldn't be that only men are in a position to have that problem. And whether other people are doing it or not, doesn't make it okay for us to do it either. It's still fucking wrong, and nobody should fucking do it. But I don't think we're as the disgusting dog pigs, that everybody thinks that we are. I think it's not that much different, regardless of who you are. That's what I think we're gonna find out in the long run. Anyways, all right. We said 4:30. It's 4:35, guys. Thanks if y'all joined in. I know it's the 4th of July. We appreciate it. Please sign up. Make it 30. It'd be great. If it's 50, even better. I will send pictures to 200 people if I have to. You know what I'm saying? Sign up. Become part of the show. Watch.
That's a threat, or
I'm threatening you with the picture of an extremely cute dog. So do it, or I'll send it. Come and join the show. We would, it would be great to have a female opinion on some of these things that we're talking about. Not that all women think alike, but sure would be great when we're talking about female issues to have a female to talk about it as well. So watch, join in, write in. We'll put you on the show. Have a great 4th of July. We'll see you guys next week. We're out.